Right now at 6, new signs at national parks have historians sounding the alarm as the Trump administration targets monuments that it says portray history in a negative light. Plus, the CHP rebuilding from a staffing shortage. We'll hear from a recently graduated trooper who was just assigned to protect Bay Area highways.
It's not necessarily just a career, it's a calling. You know, you want to help the community, you want a better society.
And high-end recycled fashion. We're talking to a curator of gently used clothing who's in high demand with the rich and famous. And later, Bing Crosby's Peninsula estate just sold for an eye-popping price. What the new owner plans to do with the historic property.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Hello, I'm Sarah Donchi. Juliette Goodrich has the night off. Like many law enforcement agencies around the Bay Area and around the country, the California Highway Patrol is trying to dig itself out of an officer shortage. A state report from last year found that from 2019 to 2023, the number of unfilled CHP jobs rose from 5% to 16%. Just a few weeks ago, the CHP graduated the latest class from its Sacramento Academy. Nearly 30 troopers have been assigned to here in the Bay Area. Our Suji Nam introduces us to one of them who says he is honored to wear the badge.
Safety always comes first for Sabur Abdul Shakur.
It's an honor. It's not necessarily just a career, it's a calling. You know, you want to help the community, you want a better society.
It's his first few days on the job as a California Highway Patrol trooper. Abdul Shakur just finished his 6-month training at the CHP Academy in Sacramento.
Sabur Abdul Shakur.
And graduated alongside more than 130 troopers in May.
My family moved here when I was pretty young. I was born a refugee in Tajikistan.
He grew up in Sacramento and dreamt about becoming a doctor, but soon learned that path wasn't for him.
To provide the highest level of safety and security for everyone, that's something that I'm very excited to do. And I'm also the first generation law enforcement in my family, so that's definitely something new and something that my family is very proud of me for.
Now, with the fresh uniform, he, along with 27 other new graduates, are assigned to the Golden Gate Division, a great push for the agency to fill in CHP job gaps statewide. CHP Sergeant Andrew Barclay says the pandemic is one of the reasons for the vacancies.
Our academy had to shut down for a while, so that was a period of time where we had officers retiring out, leaving the career over their, after their career, but we weren't backfilling those positions.
In 2023, the agency established a campaign to hire at least 1,000 more officers to their force, and graduating more troopers like Abdul Shakur helps.
No matter if you're in the northernmost or southernmost parts of our state, when you see another CHP officer, you know you've gone through the same thing. You have that camaraderie.
And that camaraderie is something Abdul Shakur is already experiencing, and he is ready to get to work.
Wearing this badge with honor and representing the California Highway Patrol is one of the most honorable things I can do.
Abdul Shakur adds he is grateful to be going down this new road in his life.
Here in the Bay Area, the CHP has done a lot more than just patrolling the highways. Over the past 2 years, Governor Newsom has sent dozens of officers into Oakland and San Francisco, since both of those cities' police departments say they are understaffed as well. Oakland police releasing some new details on several illegal sideshows that happened over the weekend. Citizen app video shows a car on fire at one of them. This happened before dawn on Sunday. There's the video there. Another clip shows a car doing donuts on the street with one person hanging out the window and waving a flag. OPD says it issued 10 citations, towed 3 vehicles, and they say they plan to follow up on additional cars that participated in the sideshow. 2 people are under arrest after a police chase and a crash in San Francisco's financial district. Police say that officers spotted a stolen car near 6th and Harrison Streets and tried to pull it over early this morning. But the driver took off, leading police on a short chase before crashing into a parked car. You see the remnants of that there. The 2 suspects went to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Immigration enforcement agents are being criticized for covering their faces when conducting raids. Now 2 state senators representing the Bay Area have proposed a possible solution to bring transparency in their operations. State Senators Scott Wiener and Jesse Arreguín introduced a new bill, State Bill 627, also called the No Secret Police Act. That would prohibit all law enforcement from covering their faces while conducting operations and would require them to be identifiable by name or badge number on their uniform. Those found in violation could be charged with a misdemeanor.
This is a very normal thing when San Francisco police officers, when you see them walking around, they have their name, they have their badge number, and that is a typical normal practice for law enforcement, and we're seeing that practice start to fade away. We're really at risk of having effectively secret police in this country. Law enforcement that you can't even identify who they are, what agency they're with.
Last week, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said the face coverings are necessary.
People have questioned why they have their faces covered. It's for the safety of those individuals or the work that they're doing as far as protecting their identity so they can continue to do investigative work.
The Republican National Committee slammed the bill today, saying that this could help rioters dox law enforcement officers posting their home addresses or personal information online. Demonstrations against the Trump administration and its immigration enforcement brought out huge crowds across the Bay Area and across the country this weekend. We saw thousands of people in the streets of San Francisco, but it wasn't just the Bay Area's biggest cities. We saw rallies all over the region, among them in Palo Alto, Walnut Creek, and San Rafael. People chanted and held up signs at many of them. None of the protests that we covered turned violent. Meantime, tomorrow, a federal appeal court will take up California's lawsuit against the Trump administration over the National Guard troops deployed to Los Angeles. The suit argues that President Trump overstepped his authority because he did not check with Governor Newsom first. Last week, a federal judge had ruled in California's favor and ordered the president to return control of those 4,000 troops to Governor Newsom. But just hours later, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals halted that decision. A heads up if you ride Caltrain in San Jose, because starting today, rail service is shut down between two key stations for the next 8 months for bridge work. Free VTA bus service will be provided between San Jose, Diridon, and Tamian stations in the meantime. Crews are working to repair 2 bridges that cross the Guadalupe River by the Tamian station. That includes shoring up infrastructure for earthquakes, riverbank erosion, as well as updating electrical work. Caltrain service to the Diridon station is not expected to be affected. CAL FIRE says it has stopped forward progress on a brush fire burning near Sonoma in Alameda County. The Mission fire burned 66 acres. Aerial video shows firefighters on the ground and helicopters working to knock it down. It broke out around 1:30 this afternoon. CAL FIRE says it's about 25% contained. The cause is under investigation. There is a new push to protect firefighters against dangerous cancer-causing chemicals. Turns out firefighting gear contains dangerous PFAs, known as forever chemicals. A new California bill would ban those chemicals in firefighting gear starting in 2027.
All 3 layers of the protective clothing contain PFAS. They leach into our bodies, especially when we're exposed to intense heat. The very equipment that we use to keep others safe is making us sick.
A study last year found that cancer is now the leading cause of death for firefighters. The bill has already passed in the Assembly, and it is in the hands of the state Senate. Still ahead here at 6, we'll meet a San Francisco shop owner who deals in vintage fashion, and we go inside his secret storehouse for the most exclusive clients.
This is more of our higher-end vintage for our special VIP clients.
A security guard is under arrest after San Rafael police say he ran over a teenager with his security car. He's been identified as 66-year-old Melvin Kennedy of Oakland. This happened at the parking lot of the Northgate Mall in San Rafael on Wednesday. Witnesses told police that Kennedy was yelling at a group of young people in the parking structure. Police say he actually chased them down and struck one of the teens and then drove away. The security guard was apparently upset with them for tearing down caution tape of a blocked-off area. Kennedy returned to the scene and turned himself in. He is booked on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon involving a vehicle and felony child abuse. The teen was taken to the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. Vintage clothing is seeing a surge in popularity, and now a San Francisco man is at the forefront of this trend, bringing his one-of-a-kind finds to the public. He owns Big Time Vintage on Valencia Street, but he also runs a second secret location for his growing list of elite clientele of athletes and entrepreneurs. Len Ramirez went along to see what the VIP vintage collection looks like.
Welcome to the showroom.
He calls it a showroom, but Bong Sigwa doesn't show this to just anyone.
This is more of our higher end vintage for our special VIP clients.
This collection of thousands of pieces of rare vintage clothing is only seen by a select group of clients who are often in the public eye and don't blink at some of the price tags.
This one's kind of cool. Rare shirt, Radiohead band shirt. Pretty rare, and we have this kind of expensive, asking $2,000.
It's the high end of a growing vintage wear industry.
You'd be surprised who's into this stuff.
His love of style and clothing began at an early age and was ironically spurred on by a traumatic event in his family. His brother, seen here wearing a Notre Dame starter jacket, was robbed of his jacket on the street. Bong always wanted one too, but his mom said no.
She told me that your brother had one stolen from him, so we're not going to get you that because it's $150 or whatever the cost was back then.
So when he got older, he began shopping in flea markets and thrift stores, hoping to find a jacket he could buy with his own money. His search not only led him to a jacket, but also paved the way for his future.
It was kind of like maybe the start of it, because it led to being a hobby on the side.
The hobby became a successful eBay vintage store. Then the pandemic hit, and when rents plummeted, he and his partners opened a brick and mortar Big Time Vintage on Valencia Street.
So these two, right?
This store is open to the public, and it's often filled with vintage clothing fans like Jack Yuan.
Every time you walk in, you don't know what you're gonna find compared to like regular stores where they come in seasons. Here is like, there's always something new.
But Bong was inspired to grow even bigger. He noticed that athletes he followed on social media were leaning into vintage looks, so he DM'd them, inviting them to shop with him.
So if a new sports team was in town and they were playing a local, the Giants or the Warriors, I would just DM the whole team. And sometimes I'd get one person to reply.
His client list now reads like a who's who of athletes and entertainers.
Little Yachty, we've gotten Drake.
What began as a childhood wish is now a booming business. And about that starter jacket, he now has them by the dozen. And for him, it was the start of something big.
Bong says he plans to open a new vintage store in the Haight. It'll be open to the public next month.
A nice start to the work week today. Temperatures warmed up to basically a few degrees below average for most of us. 1 degree above normal, though, in Santa Rosa. And you're going to be one of the warmest spots over the next couple of days, as everybody's going to warm up at least modestly. We're tracking how long that warm up will last coming up in the First Alert forecast.
The Trump administration is enlisting the public in its efforts to reframe the way American history is told at national parks. The National Park Service has started putting up signs like these ones at hundreds of parks and monuments across the country. We found them at Bay Area landmarks like Fort Mason and Fort Point. The signs ask visitors to report any so-called negative information about past or living Americans. Our Don Ramos spoke with a parks advocate who says they're worried this is an attempt to cover up some of America's darkest chapters.
They say those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it. So what happens when you actually try to erase history? At the Rosie the Riveter Visitor Center, people learn about the contributions of the home front during World War II. But it's honest about the way women and minorities were being treated at the time. That part of the story may be in jeopardy, as President Trump has directed all national parks to carry notices inviting the public to report any, quote, signs or other information that are negative about either past or living Americans, or that fail to emphasize the beauty, grandeur, and abundance of landscapes and other natural features, end quote.
It seems like it's a clear attempt to whitewash history, to erase narratives from the past that they feel don't fit the narratives that they want to see portrayed, and probably most dangerously omit aspects of our history that are really important for us to understand and learn from.
Dennis Arguelles is with the National Parks Conservation Association, a nonprofit that advocates for the national parks. He believes the signs invite people to seek out things about history they would like to erase.
We're seeing this as an attempt to circumnavigate, the authority of the Park Service to tell these stories, to tell accurate history, and to make sure, again, that we learn, particularly from the mistakes of the past.
But isn't the Park Service going along with this?
Well, I mean, in our view, the Park Service has no choice. I mean, these directives are coming down from the administration, from the Department of Interior, from the Secretary, and in many cases, they don't have the choice but to go along with this.
For example, the sign has reportedly been placed at Port Chicago, the site commemorating a massive explosion during World War II that killed 320 black sailors and the hundreds more who were court-martialed for refusing to return to work. The signs are also located at the Manzanar Relocation Center, where Japanese Americans were interned during World War II. Is it even possible to have a site at Manzanar and not have some kind of negative history assigned to it?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think it's possible. But at the same point in time, the understanding of the things that we have done is not in and of itself a negative process. It is not a process that is designed to make people feel bad about being American. It's a process that is designed to make us better as Americans.
Dr. Nicholas Baham is a professor of ethnic studies at Cal State East Bay. He's particularly disturbed by the fact the Park Service can no longer see the comments that the public is submitting.
I don't know what that kind of system that sets up, other than one that creates a sense of distrust between visitors to the park, American citizens, and people who work at the park.
In his order, President Trump wrote, quote, "This revisionist movement seeks to undermine the remarkable achievements of the United States by casting its founding principles and historical milestones in a negative light," end quote. But Dr. Baham says it is precisely the founding principles of the nation and its struggles to maintain them that has provided the nation with its moral compass.
What happens to this country if we erase the history of enslavement at any of our national park sites, at the plantations that Jefferson or Washington owned? Listen, you know, if you really, this is quite insulting to American people. It assumes that you can't critically evaluate both the good and the bad.
The president's directive also criticizes the removal of various statues and monuments after the Black Lives Matter protest in 2020, and he directs that the Park Service reinstate them wherever possible. Now, John mentioned the Port Chicago Memorial in his story. We reached out to the Port Chicago Alliance for their thoughts on these new signs. They sent us a statement that reads in part, quote, "We will not allow our history to be erased, regardless of orders, policies, or political ties. These histories are not separate or optional. They are central to understanding who we are as a nation." All right, let's talk a little bit of weather. The weekend has come and gone once again. You know, a lot of people...
She said with mourning in her voice.
Yes, with mourning. A lot of people were outside over the weekend for protests and various other activities, and then today, pretty nice.
Yeah, not bad. This is kind of what we expect in June. It's cool by the water. It's warm inland, not crazy hot inland, but it's going to heat up as we head through this week, not nearly as much as other parts of the country. And that's where we're going to start a look at the whole southwestern U.S. And we have numerous heat advisories and excessive heat warnings in effect from Southern California into Nevada, Arizona, parts of Texas, even up into Utah. Now, this is a hot part of the country to begin with, but it's going to be exceptionally hot for the next few days. It looks like this heat is going to peak on Thursday. These are Thursday's forecast high temperatures up to 116 degrees in Phoenix, 110 in Las Vegas, over 100 degrees in Salt Lake City, Grand Junction, Colorado, almost 100 degrees in Albuquerque. Yes, it's a hot part of the country. We're heading into summertime, but this is well ahead of the pace of how hot it should be for this long at this time of the year. Now, the worst of that heat is going to avoid us. We're going to warm up inland, but it's not going to be crazy hot over the course of the next few days. And right now, well, we're still waiting on that heat to even arrive. Looking outside from Mount Diablo, temperatures are comfortable across the Bay Area, even on the cool side around the water, upper 50s and low 60s for San Francisco and Oakland. Inland temperatures, everybody now in the 70s, anywhere from 71 in San Jose to 79 degrees in Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa is one of the warmer spots earlier today, and you'll be one of the warmer spots over the next couple of days as well. And we're not going to have to worry about much fog each day. Let's take a look at the local map, and we'll track what little fog there is going to be as we head through the rest of tonight. I mean, blink and you'll miss it. A few patches showing up here down the coast of the peninsula, maybe a little bit showing up in the Oakland Hills after midnight tonight. Once the sun comes up before 6 a.m. tomorrow, now that the summer solstice is right around the corner on Friday, the longest daylight hours of the year, so the sun comes up early, goes down late. within the first hour or two after the sun comes up. What little fog we have will have dissipated, and temperatures will start to warm up, but we're still going to be within a few degrees on either side of what's normal for mid-June. Upper 70s and low to mid 80s in the Santa Clara Valley, mostly 70s around the Bay, just short of 70 degrees in San Francisco, mostly 80s east of the Oakland Hills, and even up to around or above 90 degrees for Fairfield, Antioch, and Brentwood. And temperatures in the North Bay are going to be a mix of 70s, 80s, and some low 90s. Some of the hottest spots around Healdsburg getting up to above 90 degrees as well. Dog walking forecast for tomorrow is brought to you by my dog, because he celebrated his first birthday yesterday, so it seemed like a good opportunity to show that cute little face on TV. I'm going to get him out for a walk to burn off some of those birthday treats that he got yesterday. We'll get out in the morning because temperatures are going to heat up into the mid 80s inland in the East Bay. It's not too hot, but you still have to exercise caution this time of year. And again, the warm up isn't going to last too long. And the worst of it, it's only going to send the heat risk into the moderate category Tuesday into Wednesday. It's going to start to back down already as we head through the rest of this week as the onshore breeze, well, that's still going to be with us, and the fog is going to return by the end of this week as well. This is why temperatures at the coast aren't going to warm up too much over the next couple of days, even with that additional sunshine. Those onshore winds in the 25 to 35 mile an hour range are going to keep you air conditioned. Let's take a look at the 7-day forecast. We'll start inland, the hottest day Wednesday, a mix of 80s and low 90s. And then we're back to near or slightly below average temperatures Thursday and Friday. And the first weekend of summer, almost exactly average highs. Both Saturday and Sunday should see plenty of sunshine inland. We'll get back into our back and forth fog pattern by the end of the work week and into the weekend. Temperatures around the Bay into the middle portion of the 70s for a couple of days, and it's back to the 60s for a couple of days, Thursday and Friday. But those temperatures do bounce back for the weekend. And for the coast, well, you don't warm up a lot. 60s for the next couple of days before you retreat to the upper 50s by Thursday and Friday. Sarah?
All right, thank you so much. When we come back, Bing Crosby's Peninsula home just sold for a cool $25 million. But if you missed out on the bidding this time, it's going back on the market eventually. We'll explain. Two big matchups for the week for the Valkyries, and you can watch both of them right here on KPIX. Starts tomorrow when they visit the Dallas Wings. Coverage starts at 4:30. Then on Thursday, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever come to Chase Center. A luxurious estate on the peninsula that was once owned by Bing Crosby is now off the market. It was going for $40 million, but it was sold below the asking price at $25 million. Crosby's French chateau-style mansion has 11 bedrooms, 10 full baths, 5 half baths. It was the first time the mansion was on the market and sold in less than 3 months. Crosby bought the 5-acre estate as a surprise for his wife in 1965. It has quite the history. The piano in the living room was used in the movie High Society. The dining room was used for commercials. And the back lawn once housed the famous racehorse Seabiscuit. If you're wondering how it sold for so much less than the asking price, the realtor behind the listing tells us it does need a little TLC.
Majority of them wanted something that was more updated. And so this buyer is going to execute that. He will be refreshing the exterior, so the landscape will all be refreshed. And he will be creating a little bit more of a family-friendly feel throughout the home.
The chandeliers, marble fireplaces, dining room table, and rose gardens are just a few things staying the same. The buyer is a Hillsborough resident with experience on with real estate on the peninsula. Once he fixes it, he's going to resell it. The CBS Evening News is coming up next on KPIX. Local news continues on our streaming service, CBS News Bay Area. We're back in 30.